Hey there guys, gals, and non-binary pals, it's DMG and welcome back to Blitz, and today we are going to have some more subscriber replays. This first one with Triple14 from the Asia server playing in the Kuro Mori. Now, this is on Lost Temple, and I think this is a perfect way to play Lost Temple. This is what you're supposed to do. This is the ideal scenario, the ideal setup, and the correct execution. Now, you want to be in a heavy tank for Lost Temple to probably get the best results. I'm personally not a big fan of the Kuro Mori because I think its weaknesses at tier 6 definitely overshadow its strengths, but Triple will be making good use of the strengths. Now, what are the strengths? Well, the Kuro Mori has the highest HP of any tier 6 heavy. Now, you can really use that and kind of make it fulfill a mouse role, but also it has okay mobility. It's not KV1S level fast, but it gets around the battlefield somewhat decently. As you can see, Triple is going to be boarding the temple stops, which is the absolutely most important thing you should be doing on this map if you want to win. And even if you don't know anything else about this map, please check out my map guide. It should clear some stuff up for you. Now, this map was removed from high tiers for good reasons, because you could take IS-7s to this spot and just absolutely destroy things. Or the pre-nerf Object 140 with an extremely strong turret, over 3000 DPM and 330 millimeters on heat penetration would just absolutely dominate heavy tanks up here. Now, another good thing about the Kuro is that it has a decently accurate gun, and you can see Triple putting that to good work on this KV1S, and it has an okay rate of fire, but I still think that KV1S that he's facing, if the driver would be a little bit more competent, is tier for tier a better tank than the Kuro. Now, why is that? I do think that alpha at tier 6 really matters, and especially when you're going against tier 5s or even tier 7s. Sometimes you just want to drop as much boom as you can in a short amount of time, and the Kuro doesn't really allow you to do that. I even think the T150 does it better because the Kuro does, by comparison to the T150, have a weak armor profile, even though it takes a tier 7 armor profile from the Tiger 1 and puts it at tier 6. And while I do think the Tiger 1 at tier 7 is a fantastic tank, the Kuro a tier lower, which is odd, is not as fantastic of a tank because it just lacks the amount of DPM, the gun handling, and the just all-around mobility. But regardless, you can see the tactical execution of Triple's play is masking the weaknesses of the Kuro. It's a very boxy profile, but that doesn't really matter when you can hide behind these small stairs, right? Now that IS is coming around, he's not making a very good decision, and Triple will just be continuing to put in rounds. And something that I'm not sure if any of you have noticed, but I found exceptionally good about this replay, was that Triple is keeping his head on a swivel. Now, what I mean by that is he's not tunneling one target. I'm not sure if you were really watching this, but every time he put a shot into that KV1S on the left side of this temple steps, he kept zooming out and looking around, making sure that there was nothing else around him. He was not tunneling a single target, and that is exactly what should be happening. You have to be very situationally aware, because while you have lots of shots at everybody, people can poke out and shoot you. I mean, of course, at a cost of their own hit points, but in order to not lose hit points up here and maintain control of this temple area, it is so important to be aware of your surroundings, of who's on your left and right, or who's in front of you. And that was happening every single time. And you can see every time he puts in a shot, it's an immediate zoom back out, keeping his awareness around him. And he's not giving the enemy team a chance to flank him. Of course, it's a bit difficult to flank the Kuro now, as it's only a KV2 sitting in the back sniping. Now, a word about the KV2 at tier 6, because I did discuss the meta of tier 6. The KV2 is a very unhealthy tier 6 tank. Now, just Massive Alpha, it's just a slot machine, and yes, Massive Alpha is the tier 6 meta, but the KV2 does not have the accuracy or the consistency to warrant driving it. I personally think it appeals to noobs, and if you want to be a better player, that is not the tank that you should be driving at tier 6. Anyways, Triple receives a mastery badge for 3,342 damage and 3 destroyed, picking up a nice spare parts bonus. Lovely stuff there on Lost Temple. Could not have played it better myself. Of course, I would have been in a T150 or a KV1S, mind you. Anyways, our next replay will be from the Asia server as well in the E50M. Let's see if I can pronounce this right. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Sharathasha, right? Sharashatha 2014. please correct me if I'm wrong, and if I say that wrong. I know I butchered it in the Object 263 replay I did. But anyways, I'll just keep saying 2014 in the case that I keep screwing it up. Anyways, 2014 we'll be taking the E50M on Naval Frontier and making a great opening play. Now, I really think this replay showcases how tactical sometimes overcomes technical. And I do think that this replay would have been much better had the technique been better. And what I mean by technique is missing shots like that on that IS-7. Not aiming correctly. You know, I mean, you need to aim below the spaced armor plate of the IS-7 near the track area. There's a thin little bar that you need to hit. And while that may be a little bit difficult for a moving IS-7, the E50M should have the weaponry to do so. And that's another shot missed. You know, you need to take the time to aim these shots, or at least have a little bit better understanding of weak points. Now, think about this. If 2014 would have penned those two shots right there on that Jagdpanzer E100, he penned 1 for 3. If he would have penned 3 for 3, that Jagdpanzer E100 would be dead, out of the game. So right now, there is an unspotted tank destroyer just waiting to unleash 800 Alpha on an unsuspecting target. And unfortunately, I think that 215B183 will be the recipient of it. When that T-62A pops around the corner, 2014 puts in a lovely tracking shot into the T-62A. 62A blows the repair kit and unfortunately does put in a return shot into 2014. Now, that FV215B183 has done very poorly in that moment. For one exposure, he has lost over half his hit points, which is not healthy whatsoever, and they will have to play very, very carefully. Now, as you can see, the concepts are going into play here. You can see the tactical movement doing itself really good work right here, but again, the technique needs to be better. And like I said, the tactical part is very strong. Look at this. Using a bush, going hull down, pointing the gun over the corner of the E50M to maximize the amount of gun depression. That is something that you need to understand when driving this tank that I don't think a lot of people get, is that you get more gun depression over the corners, which means you can jut your front plate out to the side a little bit, poke out in a slight manner, and still bounce a lot of shells because you'll be angling forward and still be able to get good gun depression. And 2014 does put in a lovely shot into that T-62A for a kill shot, and again makes another good tactical movement by flanking, using the mobility of a medium tank. And although it's not the most mobile medium tank on the planet, it does do decently across flat ground. And he's going to put in a shot into this Batchat. Lovely roll there. But the E50M is good for HE damage. Now, that wasn't a good shot there, and once again, it's technique. You know, the concepts are there. You're going to the right spots, you're making the right tactical movements. It's just the fingers need work. It needs to be fine-tuned. These weak points should be hit, and we're going to see it again here. You're going to engage an IS-7, and what's going to be really important here is that he's going to put in a nice shot here, and you can see that the nice little angle he's taking, but then it's going to be a missed shot here. He should have gone for the lower plate, or just should have gone to heat for the lower plate if he didn't feel comfortable, but this is what I'm talking about. And you're going to see a lovely tactical movement here. Goes right past the IS-7 as he starts to charge. Lovely move there, and is able to put in another good shot. Again, good tactical movement here. Goes right into the Batchat, keeps the front armor angled towards the most dangerous target at the time. The IS-7 was on reload, and the Batchat could have started clipping out, but now the Batchat's in a very, very bad spot, and 2014 puts in another good HE round to take the Batchat out of the game. Now, again, guys, if you're watching this, you can see how good the tactical part is in this replay, but the technical needs to be better. If you would have hit those shots on the Jagdpanzer E100, or maybe you would have just gone for the cheeks of the Jagdpanzer E100, he'd be dead. Maybe he wouldn't have taken any damage in that engagement between the IS-7 and then the Batchat had he penned that one shot on the IS-7 when it was angled. And now you're going to go see the E100, and again, it's the same deal. And this is why you need to have the technical to support the tactical. I consider there to be 4 buckets in terms of player skill. And tactical and technical skills are two of them, and this is what I'm talking about. Don't go for a track shot here. You have the back of an E100 turret and the lower plate of an E100 turret. That is not the time to go for a track shot. Just keep putting out damage as much as you can. A track shot there on the E100 will not do any damage, and going through the straight on track probably won't even track him, right? But anyways, the E100 will get a shot in return, and he's lucky that he has a platoon mate, not a platoon mate, but a teammate to sponge some of the damage. And you will see 2014 put in the final rounds of the game. So anyways, this really shows the difference between tactical and technical. You don't have to be the most pinball wizard kind of player to be fantastic at the game, or at least not consistently, but just to have a fantastic round, right? Could have been a little bit of luck, but 1 credit profit, right, and 4 destroyed with 5,200 damage. But you can see that you don't have to be the most technical player to win. You can use tactical to win the game. However, when you have, it takes a lot of extra effort on the tactical side when you don't have the technical ability to support the tactical ability. But anyways, good stuff there, 2014. It was a pleasure commentating, and I hope that was a good learning experience for all of the viewers watching this. Anyways, this final video will be of my lovely assistant, Zone Z72 from the C4 clan, formerly the Straight clan, playing in the FV215B British Tier 10 heavy tank. Now, something that I've really liked about watching Zone play, or playing with Zone in the times that I have, is that his play has improved so much. He's almost kind of plays like me. Maybe not to the most extreme degree, I mean, but he's starting to mimic certain things that I do. And of course, popping the engine boost, getting out here, winning this area first. And again, not even hesitating, switching to APCR, realizing that he's not going to go through the superstructure of the Jagdtiger with AP, going to APCR, and they nuke that Jagdtiger from full health to 0 in about a half a second. Now, another good shot there into the ISA, and what is fantastic about the 215B is the weapon. So it is perfectly built for these kinds of long-range engagements with other heavy tanks, as it can use its lovely, lovely gun to absolutely pick apart the enemies. Now, I personally would never drive the 215B. I have driven it before, and I don't like it. And why is that? I believe the side armor is just too weak. Now, it has a rear-mounted turret and decent gun depression for a rear mount, but unfortunately, the side armor of this tank is so weak that you cannot do heavy tank things. What I mean by heavy tank things is side scrape. And if you have a rear mount, you're more apt to side scraping, but then when you can't side scrape in your rear-mounted vehicle, it makes it very difficult and kind of almost nullifies the good or the interesting placement of the 215B, which helps for side scraping. However, the 215B's fantastic gun and its lovely turret and acceptable mobility keep me coming back just for a few games every single time, just so I can kind of enjoy it in a certain sense. But other than that, I would never play this tank. I don't think it's all that good. It's not really a heavy tank, even though it is quite heavy in terms of metric tons, right? Anyways, that was kind of a mistake there. If there was one mistake I had to point out in this replay, is that he just kept shooting HE at the IS-8. Now, if he would have shot maybe half those HE rounds and then let the IS-8 repair tracks and then turn, he would have been able to put in a AP shot into the side had the IS-8 tried to escape, instead of continuing to spam out HE rounds. And even though the 215B does have a lovely rate of fire, I don't think it warrants continuing to blow a bunch of HESH onto the IS-8. Now, and there's the weakness of the 215B right there. He's just getting penned in the side on a side scrape, and granted, that second penetration was because of a bit of an over angle, but as you can see, if you're in an E100, that first penetration doesn't happen, and you don't want to be penned by Object 140s when you're side scraping. You want to feel safe in your heavy tanks. But anyways, we're going to see Zone push across here and make a good decision to engage the enemy now. He's put in good shots into the IS-8, killed the Jagdtiger, put in a nice shot into that Terror, the Object 140 special camouflage, right? Anyways, lovely shot there into the IS-7, immediately into a side scraping position, and this is just perfect execution in this moment. Now, that Batchat will come around and he will need to kill quickly. That E100 is going to come around, and he is quite lucky that the E100 is using the toy gun. And when I say toy gun, I mean the 128, the gun that you find on the E75. Should be using the 150, but you never know. Some people are really into that higher rate of fire thing, so you never know. Or it's a stock grind, which is probably much more common, or I guess predictable, right? Anyways, Zone tracks the E100, doesn't tunnel the E100, and is able to angle his tank immediately backwards. He's keeping track of multiple targets here in the E100 and the Batchat, and is showing good situational awareness. This is keeping his tank alive on a one shot and still able to put out damage. And this is what I mean by being able to play on a one shot. This does not mean necessarily hiding, but just being slightly passive, being safe, yet at the same time being able to put out damage when the opportunity arrives at a medium to close range. Now, the FV215B gun is lovely, and you will be able to put in a few more shots onto this IS-7, being very careful approaching here. He doesn't want the IS-7 to poke around the corner and hit him. Goes right through the rubble, or not the rubble, the stone wall, and then puts in a shot into the lower plate. Anyways, lovely stuff there, Zone. A mastery for, I believe it was about 4,200 damage, and a spare parts bonus at that. I also think it was, what, 4 destroy, or no, 2 destroy, but anyways, good stuff there. I do think that the FV215B is a fantastic tank in the right hands, but its weaknesses do kind of nullify its concept in design. Anyways, if you enjoyed that content, please hit that like button and subscribe, and if you didn't, please leave your constructive criticism in the comment section. As always, I appreciate the opportunity to share my passion with you today, and I hope to see you next time.